What happens when the NRL admits its referees may have gotten it wrong, but the entire rugby league world can't stop arguing over whether it was foul play or just the act of a bloke being a complete D********? That's exactly where we stand right now with the Reece Walsh headbutt controversy, a moment that sent shockwaves through fans, players, and pundits alike. Was it pure aggression that deserved a send-off, or just the heat of the battle blown completely out of proportion? Stick around, because this saga only gets messier the deeper you look. Call to action, keep it catchy. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and join the conversation in the comments, because tonight, we are breaking down the full story, and trust me, you'll want your voice heard. It all unfolded in a fiery clash that was already boiling over. The Broncos were fighting tooth and nail when Walsh became the lightning rod of controversy. A heated exchange, some pushing and shoving, and then, bang, the infamous head movement. Did Walsh actually connect with a headbutt, or was it more of a brush, a gesture, a symbolic show of dominance? Here's the kicker. The referee on field didn't take the strongest possible action. A sin bin? Sure. A send-off? Nope. And that decision, or lack of it, is what opened the floodgates for the storm that followed. The debate rages in two camps. Camp 1, that's foul play. End of story. These voices argue that intent is everything, and Walsh's movement was deliberate. It was aggressive, reckless, and simply cannot be tolerated. Rugby league is physical enough without players resorting to street fight tactics. Camp 2, his AD******keyed, not a criminal. For them, Walsh's act wasn't a brutal blow but an immature brain snap. They point out that the actual contact was minimal, if at all. Punish the stupidity, sure, but don't equate it to a knockout headbutt in a boxing ring. And this is where things start to get spicy. The NRL itself has admitted the referees may not have handled the incident as strongly as they could have. That's a rare admission, and one that fuels both sides of the argument. Why is it that when Reece Walsh does something, the rugby league community loses its collective mind? Simple. Walsh isn't just any player. He's flashy, he's fast, he's talented beyond belief, and he's polarizing. Fans either love him as the electric superstar lighting up the competition, or they see him as a cocky, arrogant kid who lets his attitude overshadow his brilliance. That's why this incident stings more than if it came from a journeyman forward in the middle of the pack. Walsh draws eyes, and with eyes come opinions. Now, let's be fair to the referees. Rugby league moves fast, and they have to make split-second calls in a high-pressure environment. But when the NRL itself comes out and says, yeah, maybe we should have done more, it's a tacit admission that the incident deserved more scrutiny. Either way, the headlines will write themselves. Let's shift to the Broncos for a moment. Imagine being Kevin Walters right now. Your side is pushing for premiership glory. You've already had to juggle injuries, suspensions, and the week-to-week grind. And now your most explosive weapon might be sidelined at the worst possible time. Walsh isn't just another player in this Broncos team. He's their X-factor. The bloke who can turn a tight game with one flash of brilliance. Without him, suddenly the attack looks flatter, the confidence dips, and the opposition breathes easier. A lengthy suspension could derail their finals campaign before it even begins. And in the NRL, timing is everything. The headbutt saga has turned social media into a battlefield. Broncos fans argue Walsh is being unfairly targeted because of who he is: young, flashy, and cocky. Rival fans counter that if it was anyone else, he'd already be sitting out weeks. Some comments echo the old rugby league mantra: it's a tough game, let the boys sort it out. Others point to the need for protecting the game's image, saying, if kids see this as acceptable, what message are we sending? It's tribal, it's emotional, and it's raw. And that's exactly why this story has exploded. It's not just about rugby league, it's about identity, fairness, and the future of the game. Here's a fascinating angle. Walsh is walking a tightrope between superstardom and villainy. For some, this incident cements him as the league's next bad boy. Someone with all the talent in the world, but a short fuse that threatens to undo it all. But for others, he's the victim of a system that loves to build up stars only to cut them down. A young bloke with passion who made a mistake, and now the media circus is blowing it out of proportion. Which side of that line Walsh lands on may depend entirely on how he handles the aftermath. Stay defiant, and he risks entrenching the villain narrative. Show humility and growth, and maybe he comes out of this stronger. Let's zoom out. This isn't just about one headbutt. It's about the game's ongoing struggle with consistency. Every week, fans complain about the bunker, the refs, and the judiciary. And every time the NRL admits fault, it chips away at trust. The headbutt saga highlights that bigger issue. If the NRL wants to protect its image, it must find a way to deliver consistent, transparent decisions. Otherwise, every incident, from high tackles to headbutts, becomes a referendum on the game's integrity. Here's where the suspense kicks in. What if Walsh gets 4 weeks? The Broncos' finals hopes could implode. What if he gets 1 week? Fans will cry foul, claiming the NRL protects its stars. What if he beats the charge entirely? The outrage will be nuclear, with calls for overhauling the judiciary system itself. Each scenario brings drama. Each scenario reshapes the narrative. And that's why this story isn't going anywhere. Coming. Here's where we leave off for now. Walsh stands at the center of a storm. The NRL has admitted the ref slipped. Fans are divided, the judiciary looms, and the Broncos season could swing on the outcome. But here's the real question. Is this moment going to define Walsh as the game's next villain, or will it pass as just another headline in a career destined for greatness? And perhaps more importantly, how will the NRL manage the fallout without looking like it's protecting its poster boy? Stick around, because in the next chapter, we'll dig into the possible judiciary outcomes, compare Walsh's case to some infamous precedents, and reveal how this controversy could reshape the Broncos season, and maybe even the game itself. So here we are. Reece Walsh, the headbutt heard around the NRL, and an entire rugby league community on edge waiting for the judiciary to hand down its verdict. But the real story isn't just about whether Walsh cops 1 week or 5. The real story is what this saga means for his reputation, the Broncos' finals hopes, and the NRL's credibility moving forward. Let's dive deeper. Every time a player steps into that judiciary room, it feels like walking into a courtroom drama. Lawyers, evidence, slow-motion replays dissected frame by frame. And Walsh's case is no different. The questions the panel will be asking. Did Walsh deliberately use his head to strike? Was there significant force or damage? Is there prior history that suggests a pattern? And perhaps most importantly, how will this be perceived publicly? It's not just about fact. It's about optics. The NRL judiciary doesn't operate in a vacuum. They know the entire country is watching. If you go back through history, the NRL is littered with examples of headbutts and similar acts. James Graham, 2012. Copped a suspension after his infamous bite incident in the grand final. Though different in nature, it set the tone for punishing ugly acts that tarnish the game. David Clemmer, 2015 hit with bans for reckless aggression, showing that intent,